Right now, thousands of talented podcasters are creating amazing content without seeing a single dime in return. But that changes today. Hi, I'm Dudley Peacock. My team and I have developed and helped podcasters transform their shows into profitable businesses. In this video, we'll cover 3 essential strategies: strategic marketing content, automated listener growth, and monetization. Throughout this video, we'll break down each component, demonstrating how it solves the biggest challenges that podcasters face. Let's turn your podcast into a profitable business that it deserves to be. Now handing it over to Ron, who will go through each of the essential strategies.
Thanks, Dudley. Let's dive straight into the 3 essential strategies. First up is strategic marketing content. We know the story. You made a podcast episode that you thought would change everything. It was perfect, great content, an awesome guest, and solid audio quality. You probably shared it and waited for downloads to roll in. And the result? Maybe 10 or 20 listeners. And that's including the times you played it for your own self-preservation. So here's the thing. You need to be strategic with your podcast. You need to stop treating your podcast like a hobby and start treating it like a brand. Here's what I mean. A lot of people post random things whenever they feel like it. Instead, everything you put out there, from your podcast cover to your social media posts, tell the same story. Pick specific colors, a consistent voice, and a clear message. When people see your content, they instantly know that it's yours. Now, let's talk about social media. Don't just drop links to your full episodes and hope for the best. That's a big mistake. Now, grab the most interesting 30 seconds from each episode, the moments that you go, wow, and turn them into short clips. These little snippets get shared way more than full episode links ever did. Why? Because people love bite-sized content that they can watch while waiting for their coffee. And here's something that you probably have not heard before when you started podcasting. Podcast apps are basically search engines. A lot of people name their episodes like episode 43 with John or Sue. Instead, use titles people actually search for, like how this coffee shop made 100K in its first month. And same for your descriptions and show notes. Include words and phrases that your ideal listeners are searching for. It's like leaving a trail of breadcrumbs that leads to your podcast. But here's something that you can do that can really up your podcasting game. Stop relying on your podcast, that amazing conversation about starting a coffee shop. It should also become a blog post. My key tips: turn your podcast episode into a newsletter. The best quotes? They're now Instagram graphics. One piece of content turns into 10, and suddenly you're everywhere that your audience looks. If you try this out, your content should work for you and bring new listeners while you sleep. Go from wondering if anyone would ever listen to your podcast to having listeners reach out daily saying they found you through your blog posts, social media, or Google search. And the best part, you're not doing 10 times the work. You're just being smarter about the content that you already created. And that's really what strategic marketing is all about. Working smarter, not harder. Okay, essential tip number 2. Automated listener growth. Picture this. It's 1 a.m. and you're an aspiring podcaster hunched over their laptop, manually posting about their latest episode on every social media platform that they can think of. Their eyes are burning, they've had way too much coffee, and they're wondering if anyone besides their family is even gonna listen. But everything can change when you stop trying to do everything manually. Let's start with distribution. Instead of uploading each episode separately to every platform, successful podcasters use podcast directories to do the heavy lifting. By uploading just to one place, the episode automatically gets spread to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and everywhere that listeners might be. One upload, done. Next up is email. Many podcasts are used to writing individual emails to their subscriber list for every episode. Now, with a simple automated system, subscribers get a friendly notification with the episode description and link as soon as the episode drops. No more late nights crafting emails. It just happens. Now, social media is the biggest time drain for many. You'd spend hours every day trying to post all at the perfect time. Scheduling tools allow them to plan posts once a week. Everything is set up in advance, and posts go out exactly when listeners are most active. The best part, you can focus on making better episodes instead of watching the clock to post. And finally, here's what really changes the game. Using AI tools to create content from episodes. These tools automatically pull from interesting clips and quotes. What used to take hours can now take minutes. The tools find the best moments and clip these to get shared across all social media platforms. Before automation, many podcasters spent like 20 hours a week just on promotion. Now, maybe 2 hours tops, and the results speak for themselves. If you're stuck in the manual promotion trap, start off small. Maybe just a distribution automation and build from there. And remember, automation is not about being lazy. It's about spending more time on what really matters, creating great content for your listeners. And moving to our third and final tip, monetization, where the magic happens. Let's face it, email has changed everything. It was your loyal listener saying, I love your show, but do you make enough money to do this full time? And that's a funny question, because the truth was, a lot of people who start off a podcast weren't making money at all. Zero, zilch. They're probably spending $300 a month on equipment and hosting, getting nothing back but supportive comments. But that email forced a hard realization. If the podcast was going to survive, it needed to make money. Let's talk about how you go from spending money on a podcast to making enough to quit your day job. And no, it doesn't take millions of downloads or wealthy sponsors. Let's start with the go-to idea, sponsorships. It's a common myth that big numbers are required to attract sponsors. Not so. In fact, one podcaster landed their first sponsor with just 500 loyal listeners. Why? Because they showed that those listeners were exactly the audience the sponsor wanted to reach. A small, engaged audience can be more valuable than a vast, unfocused one. And here's the surprise. The biggest revenue source isn't sponsorships at all. It's premium content. Offering extended interviews, behind-the-scenes contents, and ad-free episodes for a small monthly fee can become a massive hit. Then there's merchandise. Many podcasters hesitate, thinking, who'd want a t-shirt of my podcast logo? Turns out, plenty of listeners do. But the key is to go beyond just logo by creating designs based on inside jokes, memorable quotes, and themes that resonate with your community. Merchandise sales can really take off. Then there's live events. And I get it, live events are a massive leap. The fear of empty seats are real. So start off small, maybe a $30 workshop with maybe max 20 people at a local coffee shop. And finally, there's crowdfunding. Asking for support can feel very intimidating, but one listener's encouragement can make all the difference. You give us free content, let us give back. Okay, here's the thing that's not often said about podcast monetization. It's not about having one big revenue stream. It can be about creating multiple small ones that altogether make something sustainable. Each stream may be modest on its own, but they all add up. And the best part, every single income stream started small. One sponsor, 20 workshop attendees, a handful of premium subscribers, but they grew because they offered real value to listeners. Okay, those were our 3 essential tips to effectively implement these strategies. Remember to consistently produce high quality content that resonates with your target audience. Analyze podcast performance metrics to inform marketing and monetization decisions. Engage with your audience across multiple platforms to build a loyal community. And finally, continuously optimize and refine your marketing and monetization strategies based on results.
There you have it. The 3 essential strategies to help you turn your podcast into profit and a profit machine. Please give us a like and consider subscribing if you want more helpful tips.